painting day in the camper, the RV remodel. We have our primer we're going to start with. Obviously, we have everything taped up and some of the stuff removed. Jessica's getting ready to come out and we are going to start painting. I'll probably cut in. She'll probably start with a roller. So let's get going here. It needs to get done. That's kind of the first step here. We don't want to put flooring down before we paint. If at all necessary, it's just less hassle with covering stuff up and stuff like that. So this is what we went with, or Jessica decided she wanted to try. It's a Valspar Extreme Adhesive. So we have our primer mixed up here. We're getting ready to start actually doing it. Jessica's going to be doing the rolling part of it. Like I said, I'll be doing the cut in, and we'll do a time lapse of it. Again, prep work is key importance. Anything you can remove, like we remove these lights, all the hinges, the latches, all that's getting painted. Same way with over here. We are going to leave this little tiny section of carpet down here because it's in good shape and the cabinet is actually sitting on it. So in order to paint that, obviously you can't paint right on the carpet, so we were able to jam this stuff under the cabinet, between the carpet and the cabinet, and hopefully that works out good. We'll just pull it out before it completely dries so it doesn't have a chance of pulling it. But prep work like this is key. It takes a lot of time. You can't just jump right in here and start painting. There's a lot of prep and behind the scenes work before any of this even begins. So with that being said, let's begin. I'm not sure where this is going to fit into a video, but we obviously had the prime done, so it's before we actually painted. It's probably not going to be in order, but anyway, I'm finishing taking this fake backsplash off. This is just sticker stuff. It's very thin. In my opinion, it's very ugly. We're taking that all off, and we did get this subway tile. This is also peel and stick, but it has dimension to it, so each one of these tiles actually has, the grout line is actually indented in, so it's got some texture, and you can kind of see how it's going to look when it's up there. It does have the stagger in it to overlap the next sheet. I think it looks really good. We've seen this done in other camper renovations, so I think we're going to go ahead and move ahead with that. I'm going to finish getting this off. I might just go ahead and pull these outlet boxes loose from the wall so I can go right in behind them without worrying about cutting around them. And I think I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. So I got some ways on this tile also. It's looking really good. It's a little tricky to work with. I thought it'd go a little faster. It took quite a bit of time to do that section. There is some obstacles, as you can see, a couple outlet boxes. The cabinetry has some cutouts in it, and that window, but we got it on there. It's looking good. I think it looks actually like real tile until you go up and actually touch it. Even if you touch it, honestly, it's got a three-dimensional, so the grout line is indented, but it has a killer look to it. And of course, in a camper, you can't always do real materials because of weight and adding extra weight to it, so you got to always be mindful of that. But this is a really good option, and I think it's going to look good when everything's tied in together. Got all the priming done, as you can see. Getting ready to actually start painting, but we'll do just a quick walk through. Everything's primed. It doesn't look incredibly great just in primer, but it is a big difference. Everything's covered up. We did decide to go ahead and pull the vanity top out. We got something else gonna go in there, and I think the vanity itself's getting painted something other than white. So let's get painting. Well, we got the second coat of paint on, and I'm sure on camera it's going to look pretty good. We're not 100% satisfied. Some of the edges, it's kind of hard to even show, but it still needs another coat. It's not 100% perfect. There's still some blotchy in it, especially in smaller areas. I'm not real sure why. I thought that paint would cover really well over that primer. This wall is getting a different color. That's why it looks like that. So that's still primer, but yeah, it's definitely getting another coat, but it's looking really good. The first coat of paint, which is the second coat after the primer, if that makes any sense, but it looks much better. The bright white is a big change and makes everything look much brighter, much more open. So let's get started on the third coat, which will be the second coat of paint. Oh, by the way too, she did pick the color obviously of the vanity. So it's like a, I don't know what you call that color, like a navy blue maybe? Maybe not. It's a bluish grayish, but stay tuned for that. We have something for the countertop also that's actually already made. We have a sink on the way. Hopefully this stuff shows up really soon. We can get all this put together and back in operating condition. So while Jessica finishes that last coat, we're gonna work on this countertop. We had Jessica's dad actually over here yesterday, and he helped us fabricate, craft, whatever you want to call it, this countertop. We kind of patterned off the original. It does need to be rounded on this corner so this door opens smoothly. All that looks good. We got one coat of stain on there. It's a really light, almost clear stain, but now I'm going to pull this back out. We're going to put a coat of polyurethane on it, seal it all up. And we do have a sink, a vessel sink coming for it, so it'll only be one hole drilled in the center for the drain. The vessel sink kind of sits on top. I believe it's round. I believe that's the one we went with. And it does have a single hole in the back for the faucet with a single handle. It's going to look killer. Next phase of this is we're going to actually paint the window, or not the window, the door trims. So these are just kind of plastic. They snap on and they have the appearance of wood. They are plastic right now though. And we're going to try this on. Not used this before. It says it's good for wood, metal, plastic, masonry. So this is plastic. It should work. We're going to do a couple of them, see how it turns out. We did wipe them down with lacquer thinner first, prep them, clean them really good, get all the oils and dirt and stuff off. Let's go for it. Well, there's the first coat. It actually went on pretty good. Obviously it needs a second coat. You don't want to put it on too thick and get runs, or sometimes you can put it on too thick and the solvents in the paint will actually react with what you're painting. So a nice light coat and then a second coat to cover up is usually the best, with a little bit of dry time in between, but so far they're looking pretty decent. Little update, we got a couple more coats on this stuff. It's looking really good. Here's kind of a trick I did. Took a 2x4 and laid it on edge. We're using the tractor as a workbench and just put this on so you can actually get the underside of that all in one shot. So we did put a piece inside here. Coming inside, all the paint is now done on the inside. As far as the white, we do still have to paint that trim, but coming in here, we'll just do a quick walkthrough. As you can see, it looks really good now. That final coat really tied it up nice. It's going to come together really quick once we start doing all the trim and put cabinet doors and stuff like that back on. It's going to come together quickly. Here is the piece. We'll go in the bathroom here. So it's just sitting there. The sides actually hold all this up. So that looks a lot better. It doesn't have that 1980s fake wood grain trim look to it anymore. Just nice and clean. Let me put the rest of it up and see how that looks. And there we have it. The trim's popped back in place. Of course, the door hinges bolt on, holds all that together. On this side, the striker plate holds up all that together. But we'll come inside here and look out. much better. Finishes that off, trims it out. I think she has something in store for the door too. But oh, while we're right here, I did get a second coat of polyurethane on this kitchen or bathroom countertop. Looks really good. It's got that kind of satiny natural wood look, but it is very protected now. And can't wait to get the sink in and get this installed. Make no mistake, guys, this is a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. As you can see, there's edges everywhere in here, windows. Even though you trim them, even though you tape them, you have to trim in, cut in with tape. And white is a very hard color to paint because shadows, like right here, looks like there's a white spot. But if I grab this tape, you can see it's just a shadow. It moves. So shadows play a big trick on your mind. But it's looking really good now. But it does take a lot of time to paint it and make it look really good. Otherwise, you're just kind of half doing it, and it's not near the job it could be. And to me, it looks exactly like what you did. You didn't take your time and make it right. We tried to really take our time. We have a lot of time in painting this, but we should be turning the corner now and starting to put things back together. And once we start on the flooring, it's really going to transform this. And then once we start putting the details, the finishing details, it's really going to make all this blank white pop. The very satisfying thing is once you did all the work to paint this and make it as nice as you can, actually untape it. Just take your time. You can see there's a nice clean line there, but take your time and go real careful. You might even have to take a razor blade and trim like in corners because there is a lot of buildup there. The last thing you want to do is rip this off too fast and grab that somewhat wet paint. Still, it's not wet, but it's a little tacky, and rip a giant chunk off and have to redo that whole section. So take your time untaping. Like I said, go nice and slow, coming down at a right angle or directly, however you want to call it. The opposite direction can help a lot. You're gonna have a little bit of bleed through like that. You can take your fingernail and adjust that and clean that up a little bit, but just take your time and it'll look way better once everything's untaped also. Well, we got some packages from Amazon here, and I think they're all for the campers. So let's jump inside here real quick. We'll leave them out there. We did get a little bit more done. Didn't really film while doing it because it's kind of boring. It's just pretty much untaping everything, putting the lights back up and stuff like that. And one of the other things we got in are these little recessed lights. They came from Amazon also. They're LED. They have a small lead off of them. Actually, it's pretty long. It's coiled up, but they just kind of pop in there. And unfortunately, I made a little bit of a mistake. It's fixable. It's gonna be a little more work now. So I actually took and drilled these holes out for the proper size for them. And this wire, actually the white wire, both of the wires came through and came out this side to hook up the second light in that giant light fixture that was here. So the black wire was still running through here, and it was hanging out of this hole. So what I did is I unraveled one of these lights, as like most people would, and as you can see right here, I taped this lead to that black one. And when I pulled it through, apparently I didn't have a good enough tape joint on there, and it pulled the wire out and left my wire stuck. So somewhere in here, now I'm trying to fish my way back through. You would think it would be easy. I mean, you're just there to there. Somewhere in here is a beam though. If you push on the ceiling, it's soft there, and it gets hard there and then soft. So right about here is a rafter of some sort, a support of some sort. And there must be a small drilled hole for these wires, because like I said, these wires did go through there. But as I was pulling it through, it hit a snag, and when I pulled it a little bit harder, it just pulled my tape right off. So that kind of sucks. Now I have to actually go find that hole, get some way, get a wire from this hole to that hole so I can pull my wires through. Just a little bit added work, not the end of the world, but we'll get it. It's just going to add a little bit of time to it. But the lesson of that story is try to avoid extra work if at all possible. I thought I was good, but apparently I wasn't. I probably should have put, I probably should have tried it first with the white wire instead of just pulling it through. But the black wire was there. I figured I was good, and that's what happened when you assume. So of course everything in here is, as far as lights, are 12 volt. Your power inverter converts it from a 110 if you're hooked up to 110 down to 12 volt, or if you're running off battery power, it's obviously 12 volt. So these are 12 volt LED lights. They have a little retaining clip on them. They're actually really nice, lightweight, very shallow for this application, and they seem to work fine. So once we get these snapped up, I'll show you what it looks like. As you can see, the sink is back off, and that's because Jessica came home and I thought it might be a little bit too big, and she's like, yep, it overpowers this space. So it's going back, and unfortunately, because I did like it, but it was a little overpowering. So we're going to get a smaller size. They don't have that exact one in a smaller size, so we have to change the style a little bit, but either way, we'll get another one ordered in, and I am still working on getting those wires fished through. Down to taking the border off, the wallpaper border. So unfortunately, what is on, this is like a wand, and it does have a wallpaper on it, and then they put border on top of the wallpaper. So you really have to be careful. You can't scrape because you'll destroy that. And if you destroy that, that's kind of a problem. So what I did is I took a razor blade here and scored right at the window trims. Watch out, buddy, that's hot. And I took my heat gun and lightly heated the border up. You know, you gotta get some heat on it, but don't bubble it up. And then I got a corner started. We'll heat it up again. And then you're just gonna kind of slowly, you can see it kind of works right off. Go nice and slow so you're not, you just want to catch it in case it pulls the wallpaper at any spot. So far it's actually worked really well this way, but you definitely want to take your time. If it starts getting tougher, you might have to grab your heat gun, throw a little more heat on it. Works really well that way. We did research this a little bit. I'm gonna stop there because the outlet. We did research that, and people have all kinds of ideas of how to get that off. Whether it's soaking it with water and baking soda, vinegar, laundry detergent. Some people said, but what I find so far is the heat works wonders on a lot of the stuff. And the screw holes where the valances were actually. If you push on them, that stuff's kind of hard. If you actually just heat that area, again, not too much, but you can grab this stuff and push it, and it almost closes that hole back up. So when we go to paint that, be very little finishing work. But if you don't heat it, it doesn't work near as good. So a heat gun works wonders for a lot of things. Let me go ahead and finish this. We got it all off, the rest of it, and it looks way better without it.